If you're a woman who's been successful in your life, but you feel this emptiness inside that you haven't been able to fill, and you're not sure what to do with your life now, you might be stuck in masculine energy. This video is going to be like a quiz to help you figure out if you're stuck. I'm going to ask 5 different questions that will reveal which area you might be stuck in and what to do to get unstuck. I'm Michelle Baker, creatrix of Art as a Soul Language. I've helped hundreds and hundreds of creative women in midlife use art to unlock their purpose, transform their lives, and express their truest self in the world. Okay, first question in the masculine energy quiz. Do you organize your life around to-do lists? Is that the way that you function? Do you have a never-ending to-do list, and that's how you wake up and you orient to your day? If you answer yes to this question, don't worry, it's okay. Most of us do this, but it does say that you are orienting from the masculine. The masculine energy is linear, it's rational, it's a list of to-do things, and when you get them done, you move down to the next one. And just to make sure we're on the same page, when I talk about masculine energy, I'm not talking about masculinity. It's not actually something connected to man or woman. Energy in its basic form breaks down into 2 fundamental polarities, and masculine is one and feminine is one. So we're talking about the way in which your energy is being used and manifested, and within every single body, we have both masculine and feminine energy. So the problem that women face that gets them stuck is that when they are using almost all masculine energy, they're denying a large part of who they are inside. Women are feminine energy creatures. So we're just made up of more feminine energy. If you consider it like a pie chart, we've got more feminine energy pie than masculine. But we live in a patriarchy and we are taught to value masculine energy ways of being and doing things in the world. So the to-do list, the never-ending to-do list, if that's the way that you tend to focus your life and orient to what you're going to do today, then it tells you that you're coming from masculine energy. So let me contrast that with what it would look like to orient from the feminine. Feminine energied orientation means that you wake up and you feel into your energy in that moment. How do I actually feel? Some days my energy is lower, so I might want to do calmer things. In the morning, I always do a spiritual practice, but one of them is quite physical and one of them is meditation, just sitting. And so depending on how my body feels that day, I will orient to one or the other. So I'm orienting based upon how I feel and assessing my energy and my emotional state in order to determine how my day might unfold. Now, you can see that the way our culture is set up with the work world and the 9-to-5 jobs, that we're often not able to orient from this feminine way of being because everybody's expected to be at work at the same time and produce the same way. But as a woman, you know that that's not the way that you actually are. We are cyclical creatures, just like the moon. We wax and we wane. We have periods, we have high points, we have low points. And so coming into relationship with your own rhythms and your cycles and then orienting to your day from that place is a way to shift out of the masculine way of orienting and bring in more of the feminine so that you have a balance within yourself. All right, quiz question number 2. You might be stuck in masculine energy if you struggle to listen to your intuition. This is, again, very common because in our patriarchal culture, what we value is rational thinking. So much so that even when women and anybody really has an intuitive knowing, they tend to smush it and push it down without realizing it. So to give you an example, your intuition might be a feeling. You might be like, oh, I just don't want to go to that party tonight, for example. But then your rational brain will kick in and say, well, why? Why don't you want to go? All the people that you like are going to be there. It doesn't make any sense. Why? So that rational question asking why is the more masculine way of thinking about things, which is totally fine and valid. I'm not saying to get rid of that, but what you'll see is that in intuitive knowing can't answer the question why, because intuition isn't rational. So it doesn't have an answer to your why. It's coming from a different place of knowing. However, when you are so strongly in the masculine value-based place of rationale wins over everything else, you will ask your intuition to prove itself and to explain why. And therefore you will smush it down and say, well, it doesn't make sense that I don't want to go to the party, so I'm going to go. But you might go and find that your energy really isn't ready. You're not in the party mode and you don't actually have a lot of fun. And you might come home and go, man, I wish I would have just stayed home and watched Netflix all night, right? So there's a way in which your intuition speaks that is different than the way that your rational mind speaks. And you can get stuck in masculine when you only think from and value the rational, logical way of thinking. Now, I'm never telling you to flip all the way over and only have the intuitive knowing. We have both because they're both a gift that complement each other. But we get stuck when this is really the only way that we're orienting in the world. So you can work on balancing that the next time that you have any intuitive knowing. Recognize if you're asking your intuitive knowing why questions and see if you can shift over to, oh, this is a feeling. This is me just having a sense of what I might like or not like. And it's not going to balance out in the rational side. But what if I were to hold them both as valuable pieces of information and make my decision from this place? In Wild Woman, the program that I run, I even teach women how to ask their body questions and receive wisdom from the wiser part of themselves, which is to help them balance out the logical way in which we orient to the world, because we really do need both. And we've lost connection to this other way of trusting and navigating through our life. All right, quiz question number 3. You might be stuck in masculine energy if you feel most valuable doing things for others. This one really blows women's minds because all the women that I work with orient in the world as being the caretaker, doing everything for everyone else and always putting themselves last, which is why so many women are burnt out and depleted, because this is actually not your most inherent state of being. That is the masculine way of orienting, which is doing for others. The caretaking, in the way that women are typically manifesting their caretaking role at this point in our culture, is a masculine way of taking care of others. So again, this might be a bit of a mind twist for you, but let me give you a visual. Imagine maybe you had a baby, maybe you breastfed them, maybe you didn't, but just imagine a mother breastfeeding her baby. Okay. It's one of the most natural ways, biologically fundamental ways that a mother cares for her child. Is she doing anything? She isn't actually doing anything. Her body is naturally able to give the baby what it needs. And do you know what the mother needs to do the most? She needs to rest and eat enough. That's how she produces the milk that is sustaining her child. But there's literally, like when you breastfeed a baby, all you got to do is hold them and they do the work. They're the ones that suck the milk out. Your job is to be in such a state that you can produce the milk. That is actually the feminine version of caretaking. It's much more passive than the masculine do, take care of everybody else, constantly meeting everybody else's needs. So if you relate to that, and like I said, every woman that I work with does, then sliding over into feminine caretaking means that you are in a state where you have so much to give inside of you, like it literally just is a waterfall. Just think about what it's like when you're in a really great mood. You just naturally say nicer things to other people. You lift up the room with your energy. This is actually the state of feminine being. And again, I'm not saying stop doing anything for anybody else. I'm calling you into balance. What would it be like to not feel that what your role is in the feminine is to do for everyone else? What would it look like if caretaking for you was a lot more of your beingness? Just think about what it feels like when you are emotional. Do you want somebody to do something, or do you want somebody to listen and to be present with you and to hold space for you? These are all gifts of the feminine, and they come from a being mode. They are receptive and space holding more than they are action oriented. Quiz question number 4. You might be stuck in masculine energy if you are looking for an answer to your purpose. This is very common with people. The people that I work with are looking for their purpose. I don't know what my purpose is. I want to find it. But one of the most common mistakes that they make is thinking that it's an answer. It's like it's under a rock somewhere. And if I just flip the right rock, I'm going to find it. But that is a masculine, mind-oriented way of trying to get to purpose. Purpose is not an answer. It's not that at age 40 or 50 or 60, it hasn't occurred to you that you might be an artist or a baker or, something like that. You're not actually looking for a word or a phrase for what you do. That is not what purpose actually is. So to slide over into the feminine, what purpose actually looks like, especially let's call this one soul purpose, doesn't look like what you do in the world. It looks like being deeply connected to yourself. Soul purpose is when you are so aligned with who you are that it naturally comes out in everything that you do. So then it will come out in the work that you do if you're still working. It will come out in the art that you make. It will come out in your relationships, and it will come out in how you feel about yourself. That is the feminine approach to purpose that we do in my program. And number 5, you might be stuck in masculine energy if you want to know all the steps before you take any action step at all. This happens all the time with people, whether it be in their art, where they're like frozen before they've even begun because they're like, well, I don't know how I'm going to do steps 5, 6, and 7. I don't know what the end result will be. So it happens in art. And it also happens when it comes to their path to purpose, where their mind and their doing mode is stuck going, well, I don't know if I were to quit my job or if I were to do something else, what would it be and what would it look like and how would I make the money and what about this and what about this? And that series of questions and the fear that comes around with not knowing causes people to get frozen. But this is a masculine orientation, again, where what you're really saying is, I want to know everything that's going to happen before it happens. And yes, the mind does want to know everything that's going to happen, but let's just pause for a moment and say, that's not the way anything in life works. Nobody knew that we were going to be in a pandemic for years. It just happened. So we cannot actually plan out everything. And in fact, some of the most beneficial things that have happened to me in my life, I would never have chosen for myself in a million years. Some of them were quite painful, and yet they were incredibly transformative in helping me become the person that I am right now. So not only can we not know all the steps, we wouldn't choose the steps that might unfold for us, and we're not in charge of what's going to transpire at step 5, 6, and 7, because there's a lot of things that are outside of our control. And you might call it God, universe, spirit, who's actually a bigger force and how things are going to come to fruition. So instead, the feminine gift here is the ability to trust and to sit with the unknown. I don't actually know what this painting is going to look like when I'm done. I'm going to start and set a clear intention of what it is that I want to have unfold. And then I'm going to continue to react and respond to what comes through and trust that it will take me to something that is in my best interest. And it might not even be what I thought it was with my mind. That is the difference between navigating from the feminine versus the masculine. And again, we can really match them up and work with them together. But what we don't want is to get so stuck in wanting to know every step laid out ahead of time that we never actually take the first step, because that is the essence of stuckness right there. This is one of my biggest passions in life, is helping women reclaim the gifts of the feminine and to find their own true empowerment by reclaiming this energy for themselves, because you really can't connect with your purpose if you are ignoring half of the type of energy that lives inside of you. So if you feel drawn to this, I invite you to get my free ultimate guide to art as a soul language, because it will show you what a creative feminine path to purpose looks like. There's a link for the free guide right below this video, so make sure to go check it out. And if you found this video insightful or helpful, please give it a like or a comment, because it helps the content reach more and more people.